my baby boos out there, I am your goddess Nesca, here with a fan-requested video. Let's see, I studied every mention of Moloch in the Bible. Here's the scary truth. Ooh. Uh-oh. I didn't mean this one. I made a pro-I song and put it in DMs. See, that's what I was trying to message. Okay, I'll do that one at the end of stream then, since yeah, I started this. So yeah, I didn't know that's because that was the only video in my suggested videos from you.
Sometimes pronounced as Moloch, is a name that appears several times in the Hebrew Bible, primarily in Leviticus, but also showing up in the Book of Kings 1 and 2, and also in Jeremiah. Usually, if we look across different translations of the Bible, we are able to find slightly different sentiments about characters, perhaps infer slightly different connotations depending on the author's fancy.
Oh. Okay, so this is from you too, Loco? Yeah. Starts hearing random typing from the fuck did my YouTube autoplay into? Feel free to flee while you still can.
But with Moloch, wherever he appears and in whatever translation, the accounts are unanimous. Moloch is condemned in the strongest of terms. He is warned against as being the most wicked entity.
So, this Moloch thing, I'm guessing it's some kind of demon? Is it perhaps a fallen angel, or is it something else, I wonder? I'm not obviously versed in any kind of biblical stuff, especially Hebrew. Is Hebrew Jewish, or am I retarded? I could be very much retarded. Maybe Nux knows about this. Already breaking my lurk mode. This video showed up and I have it on my watch later list. Wow. Yes, it is one of mine. Okay, thank you, Loco. So yeah, if I remember correctly, I remember watching some conspiracy videos talking about like how people are worshipping Moloch, and he's like some kind of like baby eating deity creature thing. Hebrew is Jewish. Yay! I'm not the stupidest thing. Of course, maybe I'm stupid for having to ask. I wonder if Nux ever got to any of lore of this thing.
Is clearly defined as being the most detestable, and the rituals linked to him, most chillingly child sacrifice, are treated as abominations. In today's
Hebrew would be referred to all of Israel, so it would be including more than the tribe of Judah, the Jews. Okay, so see, Nesca's not very knowledgeable when it comes to all the technical terms of stuff. Yeah, Nesca kind of stays away from stuff like that. I'm just your basic bish American. But yeah, I like learning about things, so this is interesting. You're not stupid for asking. You wanted to make sure. You know, I just wanted to connect the dots to how Nux is like doing Bible readings and stuff. If he ever talked about this thing.
Episode, we'll be tracking down every mention of Moloch across scripture and understanding just how dark and bleak this ancient deity was, that he was able to manipulate the ancient Israelites into tossing their children into the fires to please him. Leviticus 8.
How the fuck? Hey, wait. This is kind of similar to the one asshole who poisoned his child for money. Huh. If you hear Hebrew, it would also apply to Jews. Okay. I'm just making sure. I just wanted to make sure I didn't say something stupid. You know.
18 is a chapter focused on forbidden sexual practices, setting out a strict moral code that defines what is considered unacceptable behavior among the Israelites. It draws a hard line between what is holy and what is corrupt, listing incestuous relationships, adultery, and at one point, even the condemnation of this Moloch, and the sacrifices that are so ingrained with his reputation. We are
Okay, I feel like I heard this from a video I watched a while ago, but is Moloch related to the golden cow?
told, "You shall not give any of your children to offer them to Moloch, and so profane the name of your God." This is the first time Moloch is mentioned in the Bible, and as we can see, he is mentioned almost casually, without any introduction and without much in the way of context. In a sense, the narrator, or God, assumes the reader knows who Moloch is.
No.
Perhaps an indication of how sinister and notorious he is, that he requires no explanation.
How the fuck would people know what this creature is? Or is it supposed to be like a symbolic kind of thing? Or it's like, hey, don't sacrifice your children. Don't, something maybe about, like an unforeseen rule that should just go without question. Do not, what's the word I'm looking for? Corrupt the youth. Do not hurt children kind of thing. Remember the Aztec, yeah. Golden cow is yes and no. That's not strictly speaking true. Okay. The Old Testament was all oral tradition. Oh yeah, where they because something about they didn't want to write it down, but I don't feel like the oral tradition is any better, because okay, so even if you keep reciting the same thing over and over to your children, to their children, and all that stuff, the words will still become skewed. It's like when you say something to someone and then the words just get all messed up after a while. What we have are few found written records that were taken down at set times, almost entirely post King Joseph. Joshua, when the big word, Deuteronominance, something took over. So that implication that God is being casual about this misses the possibilities that when it was recorded, people would have known at the time. Oh, so maybe this was an actual entity that lived among people back then? Well, it kind of goes without saying, don't give your kids to a fucking monster. I mean, I feel like that'd be... Oh my god, is common sense not something that exists for people sometimes? I mean, looking at today's society, yeah, I feel like common sense is actually a gift at this point.
The people of that time would have known Moloch all too well, the pagan god of the Ammonites, a group of people who had descended from Lot, and despite such descendancy, would find themselves clashing frequently with the Israelites, being...
Or at least a legend. You don't need to explain Loch Ness monster to a Loch Ness monster. Okay, yeah, to anyone, right? Yeah, because that's I see. So it's kind of like, okay, then it might be grounded in like obviously someone did something stupid. It sounds like. A lot of stuff and stuff. Of course, guessing this was before Noah, before the great floods, maybe? Of course, what the guy just said, they're looking at this entity as another deity, so it's not demon and it's not angel, so there are other creatures out there, huh? Oh, that might That is a question. Are there other gods out there? Other entities that are on the same level as the God that created us? That is questionable there, because it's supposed to be said that there's only one God. So these would be like maybe lower forms of gods. Were they also created by God? Huh. That's another thing. Like, why did God stop with humans? He could have just stopped with angels in that case. I'm sorry. And now I'm getting myself into a big ponder about the existence of things that cannot be answered by humans. Yep, old history is like a canon. The barbarian in Conan the Barbarian in real life. Oh, oof, you're asking some fun questions. I think a lot. I think a lot. So yeah, it happens, especially when I start thinking about biblical stuff and junk. I mean, for the most part, like I said before, I consider myself, I guess, an agnostic, because I find it hard to stick with one religion, because it's hard to really see what's the right one. My friend is like hardcore Catholic. My mother is basically just a Christian and stuff like that. So, yeah, I respect and I take in a lot of knowledge from biblical stuff. You know, that thinking is good, Neil. Do you want the giant paragraph or a bit by bit? I don't know if I can get, like. I'm not sure if it'll show up too well in a giant paragraph on my chat. Let's get back into the video. Also, cat.
Noteworthy for their hostility, these Ammonites, amongst the many other groups living in Canaan at that time, were, as far as the Bible tells us, a wicked people, for they chose not to worship the biblical God and chose instead to worship their own false gods. These people, as a result of their godlessness, were believed to engage in the more sinful practices of adultery, warfare, incest, and of course, child sacrifice.
Okay, now here's a question. Okay, is this Moloch thing, is it its own separate entity, or is it something that the devil crafted? Or are there actual other creatures out there? Or because wait, no, it says that the devil can't create life, or he just doesn't have the ability to do that. I'm trying to remember stuff, man. Obviously, I haven't really read the Bible myself, because I ain't gonna read. Who can't make me read? I watch stuff, though. I'm not sure if it's any better or not. One step at a time. In most cases, take a little bit of it. I think it's either Satan or one of his angels. Okay. So there shouldn't... Okay. So there's couple of things. It's either there's just the one God, okay? He created the angels. And then the angels. And then there was the rebellion. And then a third of the angels fell to earth. And then something. Was the rebellion before or after the creation of Adam and Eve? That's another thing. A lot of stuff here. Satan created hell. Blah, 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 blah. I guess in demons. Where do demons come in all this? Is this... Okay, so Satan, I guess, cannot create... What it probably is he cannot create a soul, but he can create thingies? Like soulless entities, perhaps? Because is that where demons come from? I think it's either okay. Okay, I wanna break my lurk again from. I guess Murloc is either a form of the devil or one of the fallen angels that followed the devil. The rebellion was before the creation of Adam and Eve. Okay, demons are the fallen angels. Okay, so that means there's only a set amount of demons that exist in the world, and I'm guessing it's 200, if I remember correctly. I think it was a thing saying that the 1/3 of the angels, and there's 200 angels, 200 fallen angels. Okay, okay. Demons are okay. Devil can't create life, but it's a great liar. Okay, okay.
Something their god Moloch demanded. It makes sense then why this offering of children to Moloch in Leviticus is not further elaborated on either, but rather assumed from the vagueness of the line that this was a practice that was commonly known to an ancient audience, and that this was something that the intended audience already knew was pretty heinous. In any case, the verse here is pretty clear. It was a warning to the Israelites not to give their children to the Canaanites. Regardless of how they came across, these were not a people to be trusted, and their god's diabolical appetite was not something to entertain. In another interpretation of this verse, some point to how it sits almost misplaced amongst the other warnings in the passage, those which, as aforementioned, focus on a more sexual aspect. Here, readers are encouraged not to attempt to have sex with women whilst they're menstruating, not to lie with their neighbour's wife, not to engage in homosexuality.
Wait. Do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleannings. Okay, so when a woman's on their period, you don't fuck them? Interesting, okay. Do not have sexual relations with, obviously no cheating. Don't be a cheater. Do not have sexual relations with, okay, so there's that. Hey! I want to make a little note here. It says, "Do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman." It doesn't say anything about a woman having sex with a woman. When God says, "Do not marry your children to them." Oh, that could be taken a very wrong way with how today's society is. If they practice children sacrifice, their grandkids would just go to the fire. I think it depends on the translations. Points. Yeah, all this stuff is confusing. Is no wonder why. The question is, why is it confusing? That's another question.
And not to lie with animals.
Hey! There you go. Don't fuck your dog. Oh, that's why that one guy died. It was a warning. Don't fuck your dog or you die. In that last stream.
In all of this is Moloch. So why does Moloch and child sacrifice get brought up here, in a passage seemingly dedicated to perversions and sexual deviancy? To some scholars, the placement of Moloch here reflects a Jewish tradition that those who offered up their daughters to Moloch were not literally offering their lives, but rather committing their daughters to live as temple prostitutes.
Oh, I see. So they have access to all the breedies. Okie dokie. Was you watching Kirsha last stream? Can't remember exactly when it was streamed, but if you're thinking of what I think you're thinking of, we were watching a Count Dankula video talking about the guy who fooked a random guy's dog and he died from it. Yeah. That was a Count Dankula video we watched, but we got the idea from Kirsha.
Exchange for blessings and boons that were believed to have been grantable by Moloch alone.
And they burned
Yet the general consensus is that these verses...
Oh, the They burned the children that were born from the prostitution of, oh.
Containing Moloch do indeed refer to actual human sacrifices, particularly infanticide, which brings up another idea, that those who were bringing children to Moloch were not always of Ammonite descent, nor of even the surrounding Canaanite areas, but were also Israelites who had found Moloch and his method of worship to be a convenient way to get rid of children that were born out of wedlock.
Okay. I already committed a sin. Okay, being married out of wedlock. Isn't that kind of a sin thingy too? I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna sweep this under the rug by making it worse. 'Cause you couldn't keep it in your pants long enough until you got married. We're thinking the same news story, but I learned it from Kisha. Don't know, Dankula covered it too. Yeah. That's the video Trucker and I made, was reacting to a Dankula video talking about it. It was ancient abortion. Ancient abortion. Give the baby, throw the babies in the fire. Have the demons give you an abortion. I mean, for some kind of...
For these people, not only did it destroy the evidence of an affair from the community, but it also could be seen as hiding it from God.
Nope, God sees all. You're just making it worse. Confess your sins. I don't know, just you shouldn't have done it in the first place. What's fucking wrong with you? Don't cheat. Don't fuck random people.
Almost as if removing the product of the affair from existence was enough to vindicate them of having sinned at all.
Nope, making it worse.
This loophole, if you will, is perhaps why God speaks to Moses in Leviticus so plainly, because he means to set the record straight about Moloch and remind his people that engaging in this activity will not absolve them. In fact, it lands them in even more trouble.
Knew it! I called it! Because not only are you sinning by committing the adultery, but you are sinning even more because you're killing an innocent and also giving it, you're promoting the evil thing and junk. So yeah, of course. That sounds like a Planned Parenthood. Demon Planned Parenthood. Nobody.
Chapter 20 of Leviticus expands on chapter 18. Where chapter 18 told us what not to do, chapter 20 tells us what would happen if we did it anyway.
Oh?
It comes across as a list of punishments, mostly consequences for sexual immorality, but once again featuring the likes of Moloch here. As you can imagine, the punishment for engaging with Moloch...
I'm guessing back in those days, contraceptives weren't a thing. Also back in those days, I'm guessing they didn't think to pull out. Their pull-out game was really shit back then. David did not lose his promises until he murdered Uriah to hide his affair. Jeez. So clearly that is far worse. Oof.
And giving away one's children to him is most severe indeed. We are told, any Israelite or any foreigner residing in Israel who sacrifices any of his children to Moloch is put to death.
Oh.
The members of the community are to stone him. I myself will set my face against him and will cut him off from his people, for by sacrificing his children to Moloch, he has defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. If the members of the community close their eyes when that man sacrifices one of his children to Moloch, and if they
Talk about a vengeful god there, but again, this goes without saying. This reminds me of the stream that we had yesterday about the asshole who killed their child for fucking life insurance by feeding him poison. They didn't deserve to live. That is disgusting. Oh wait, I was also thinking of the one asshole who fucked the. Oh yeah, yeah, that's another one. Leave the kids alone. You're just words. I just disgusted. You know. There was a son of Jacob that pulled out, didn't turn out so well. What? Why? Wait, what? Neska, you may have to skip April and Glacis, aka Fluffy, as it may be DMC'd. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I was thinking that'd be an issue. If you murder babies, you will be absolutely destroyed. Sounds reasonable to me. Of course, then there's the whole eye for an eye thing, but then again, we're talking about someone innocent. So, yeah, if God's cool with killing these fuckers who kill their own children, then I'm cool with it too. Poor kids.
They fail to put him to death. I myself will set my face against him and his family, and will cut them off from their people together with all who follow him in prostituting themselves to Moloch. This puts into perspective just how vilified Moloch was, and perhaps just how much God despised this other dark entity. It wasn't just the Israelites, God's chosen people, who would bear the brunt of the consequences should they partake in the rituals, but also anyone who was living within Israel who did so too. Now, we know that all people were God's people, according to the biblical narrative, even if they didn't acknowledge it themselves. But it's interesting that God is willing to go out of his way here to set the punishment for anyone, even those who weren't really bothering him or the Israelites, if they went and paid tribute to Moloch. What's more interesting is that despite having the power to punish people himself, he leaves this matter in the hands of the community to fulfill.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good idea. Leave it to your people. Obviously, it'd be hard for. Oh, that means he was suspecting that there's gonna be more people doing this shit, and he can't sit there and kill all the bad ones, I guess. Another VTuber still has their reactive video up, but it's your stream/channel. Heck. Not sure what that means, but okay. Thank you. Because the people need to make sure nobody is doing this. Yeah, it needs to be, what's the word I'm looking for? An example of. An example. And, yeah, just have your people just know that this is the consequences and it will be carried out. God leaves his this matter in the hands of the people.
Those found to be guilty of entertaining Moloch and engaging in child sacrifice were to be stoned to death, which also gives us the impression that this wasn't just a transgression against God, but a transgression against the community itself.
Also, here's a question. Is the issue here God is not willing to kill anyone? Because I'm trying to think, was there ever an instance where God personally killed someone? Because in that regard, why doesn't he take care of... why can't he kill, like, the devil and stuff? And why didn't he kill Moloch? That's something I'm kind of curious about. Like the one meme, God can't do it all by himself, But yeah, has God ever once struck someone down personally? I'm curious about that.
Sacrificing children was just as much a horror to us today as it was to the ancient Israelites. Perhaps even the
The answer depends upon your theologically. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, because God's supposed to be of love, not vengeance. I believe he could and would, but it would defeat the purpose of this existence. Points. So I don't think, in that regard, I don't think God personally killed anyone himself. But, yeah, and he has Lot's wife into a he turned Lot's wife into a pillar of salt, I think. Sodom and Gomorrah and plagues of Egypt. I mean, okay, it depends on like, okay, in that regard, but that's not. No, no, because you're right. With the plague, he took the firstborn child in Egypt, if I remember, which I should remember correctly because that was in the movie Prince of Egypt. I remember that. But the question, so did they just like, huh, huh? My brain hurts now. Sorry, it was a son of Judah. Gen 38, 9, 10. He was considered wicked in the eyes of God, and the Lord killed him. Oh. Yes, that's why he said it will not flood. He will not flood the world. You can argue that he sent the angel of death to do so. It wasn't his personal hand. Right, right. Yes, the firstborn of any non-believer in Egypt. Right, right. So, okay, I have. I mean, feel free to at me at this, but I have, I guess, my own thoughts. Every soul, how I see it, is that we're all like a piece of God. Every soul that's created by Him is a piece of God. And perhaps, if I know correctly, I think there was a good handful of angels, like specifically the devil one, that probably had souls too. And maybe the reason God doesn't kill us or anything like that, why he doesn't kill the devil and stuff, is because they're all parts of him in a way. That's just a random thought I've had. I obviously don't quote me and stuff. That's just the thoughts that I have, you know? Because it always says like we're all one, and yeah, so does that mean like all the souls were all part of God? Let's see. But God can't smite other gods. Also, have you seen the vid where the one guy was struck 3 times by lightning? I think it's important to have terms set, and these are defined by theology. But I think you are very close to being right. I just need to know what you think a soul is. I think a soul is like legitimately a piece of God. Like he takes pieces of himself and puts them in the beings. That's my theory. That's what I was thinking. If we're all supposed to be connected and we're all supposed to be one with God, we are all one person in different bodies. The universe is an egg. You know. So, yeah, it's just something I'm thinking about.
Ammonites themselves had their reservations about it. But the main takeaway here is that this passage of Leviticus shows us the mood and sentiments behind the original authors when it came to Moloch and child sacrifice. Additionally, you'll notice that it isn't enough for God to lay down these rules and punishments, for he probably knew that despite the severity of his words, they would not be fulfilled in their entirety unless there was an even greater incentive. The old adage, evil presides when good men do nothing, comes to mind, and this is what the biblical God was basically guarding against. He wanted to encourage the community to work together and hold evil accountable, even if it might have been uncomfortable to do so, and even if they had to end up stoning someone they actually like.
Also, yeah, is my 2.0 model. Yes, they did. Thanks for noticing.
No one was allowed to breach this standard set by God, and if they did, well then the Israelites now had an obligation to rectify the behaviour, and further discourage anyone else from trying it in the future. He warned the Israelites that if they turned a blind eye to what was happening and did not punish offenders, then he would make the punishment even worse for the offender.
Ooh.
He would set his face against the offender and his family, which in effect might have put some unwitting bystanders in the crosshairs too, for being guilty by mere association.
Okay, I gotta say, I don't really feel like that's very fair to attack someone's family because of their own fuck-ups. Doesn't that seem kind of just, I don't know, that does seem pretty unfair to me. They grew, yes. They're so
You might say that God was encouraging the Israelites to show mercy here, give the man a quick death by stoning, rather than let him and his family suffer at the hands of God.
Oh, okay.
But it might also be said that this was the perfect leverage by God to ensure that man did what he had instructed.
Okay.
No one wanted to be the brother or sister of the man who sacrificed his children, right? Because then it also made them eligible for being cut off from their people if they didn't participate or instigate the stoning. By chapter...
Okay, so basically, it was questionable if he actually would have gone through with it, but it gave, like, incentive for, like, it's like, I don't want to be punished because of this family member's fuck up, so yeah, I'm gonna be one of the ones to kill him. I'm guessing that's what he meant by that. And then I guess don't fucking question God, because I'm guessing God's pretty unpredictable in that regard, huh?
11 of the first book of Kings, we are well into the reign of King Solomon. In fact, some might say that by this stage, we are entering the downfall of Solomon. Indeed, despite his initial wisdom and God's favour, it is Solomon's love for women and his inability to resist their charms and allures that lead him off the righteous path. Indeed, the Bible tells us that God was very clear when it came to the Canaanites, and that no one ought to have married their women, for they would turn the hearts of their men over to their gods, and ultimately corrupt them. Unfortunately, Solomon could not resist. We know he had hundreds of wives and concubines who did in fact turn his heart after other gods, and we know he built many temples and altars to service these gods, proving that he was no longer completely true to the Lord. In this section of the Bible, we are told Solomon followed Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Moloch, the detestable god of the Ammonites. Whilst we know all the pagan Canaanite gods were wicked as far as the Bible is concerned, it is interesting that when Ashtoreth is mentioned, she is merely stated without judgment, but when Moloch is mentioned, he is defined as detestable. The original authors of the text...
So, this is interesting. Well, okay, these have to be fallen angels. Unless, okay. That brings another question. So everyone's all going cray-cray and thinking about, like, aliens and stuff. Where does aliens come in all this? And they say, so they say, like, aliens are probably just demons. So, is there only in existence only 200 demons because they're all the fallen angels? That's something else I'm curious about too. We actually don't know about her. That is the Asha question.
Can't help but reveal their disdain of this entity, which, going back to Leviticus, is evident by just how far God is willing to go to stop people from engaging with him. Moloch isn't just a taboo, no, he's an outright anathema to the ancient audience. However, in the same chapter, Chemosh, the pagan god of the Moabites, is also described as detestable, which in a way does sort of subtract from the malevolence of Moloch. I mean, if suddenly other pagan gods are detestable, it sort of gives the impression that the original authors were just using that label arbitrarily to diminish the deities that didn't fit.
So then, like back in the Greek and the Egyptians and the Romans and stuff, did their gods actually exist, but they were guises of fallen angels? Asha is something acceptably pivot before God, so long as she isn't worshipped. Depends on which text you read. I know, right? This is why religion's really confusing and fooky. There's too much stuff. There's too many things. Like, for example, like, I've heard about, like, the Book of Enoch and stuff. Stuff like that counter, like, just, religion fucking, contradicts itself. You know? Like, are these different entities altogether, or do they exist as the fallen angels that are taking on these new guises and stuff? That's something I'm curious about.
Within their own doctrine, not because they were actually detestable. On the other hand, perhaps this Chemosh was just as bad as Moloch, thus earning the adjective detestable as well. In any case, we see Moloch mentioned again
Some
here.
Things are clearly unreliable. Right. It's just... It's not... It's a lot of stuff, you know? I'm... Personally, I guess I'm just gonna live and whatever Nesca in the future, whatever your afterlife is, sorry, it's your problem, not mine. That's one way of looking at it.
In conjunction with Chemosh, we are told, on a hill east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. What's interesting here is that by the law set down by God in Leviticus, Solomon ought to have been stoned to death by the community for his worshipping of Moloch.
Yes.
Indeed, whilst we don't see Solomon actually make any sacrifices unto the deity, it does seem like he's waded more than waist deep into the waters of sin with this one, and probably did war.
This is actually kind of similar to how things are nowadays, like with the Epstein files. Despite obviously Solomon should have been stoned to death, just like the one random dude, but because he is king, he is immune to this, what's it called, rule or whatever, rules for thee and not for me kind of BS. This is, yeah, the people on the Epstein list should definitely be punished, no matter who they are. But no, their power's too great. So they're eluding God's punishment for the horrible things they did. If a God asks for child life, it's a devil. Don't like referencing this guy's videos. He does a lot wrong. Well, when the Bible was translated to English, a lot got messed up. Yeah. That's why I can't trust religion myself. True English doesn't have a perfect tense. We lose a lot in translation, and Hebrew versus Greek, and Greek versus Latin. Absolutely, I generally believe the Epstein types and their Dages are worshipping the same entities mentioned here. Yeah. Moloch by another face or another name. Yeah. There is a lot of like. Yeah, so we're probably more than likely getting to the end times because wouldn't you say a lot that's going on nowadays is pretty similar to what was going on, what's being talked about in this video. Yes, also word usage, the story orientation, you know.
Warrant that very same punishment from Leviticus. In the second book of Kings, chapter 23, we see Josiah begin to make religious reforms in Judah and the former king of Israel, where some of his main efforts include purging the idolatry that had become commonplace. Here we see Josiah remove and destroy certain idolatry.
So only 10 more years, huh? Ugh, 10 more years. I'll still be fucking alive, damn it.
Places, objects, altars, etc. Those that were dedicated to foreign gods, most notably Moloch. We are told Josiah desecrated Topheth, which was in the valley of Ben Hinnom, so no one could use it to sacrifice their son or daughter in the fire to
50-50. You never know. I mean, I feel like I'm in a good peaceful place right now. Trying my best to take care of my health. I'm not that old. Yet I'll be 46 in a decade. Oof. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Moloch. Evidently, Josiah did not suffer from the same temptations as Solomon, and instead of creating these temples and monuments,
it most likely being at the end of the Bible. Huh. Belongs at the end of the... Oh, so you're talking about like things getting all mishy-mashied and put in places where they shouldn't be. When the Israel was formed, God said, no king, but the people said, we want to be like other people. So yes, to king. God said, okay, just remember this was your choice. Oh my god, they fuck themselves. They put someone high on a pedestal when God said not to. No wonder why they can get away with the bad things.
To the other gods, went about destroying them instead. Indeed, here we essentially see the end of Moloch, who was no longer worshipped after this time because Josiah saw to it that this area of Topheth,
no evil cows
in the valley of Ben Hinnom, where most of the sacred rites to Moloch would take place, was defiled, left in ruins. In some interpretations, this valley, sometimes referred to as Gehenna, was also believed to be a place where perpetual fires were kept ablaze in order to consume all the filth and waste of the city. In these interpretations, this Gehenna could also be seen as a type of hell, the perpetual inferno giving rise to similar imagery of what we might expect of hell. In another Jewish legend, Topheth was named with
Joshua reeked the groves and he killed all the priests. I'm gonna head on. Okay, take care, Blast. Yeah, good night.
The Toth drum in mind, because instruments of this kind were believed to have been beaten to drown out the cries of children who were thrown into the fire to be sacrificed.
Sheesh.
In this part of the chapter,
okay, just random thought. Throwing children into the fire makes me think of the first episode of Space King where they threw the little girls in the lava. I'm sorry, being a little dark there.
Natures of Solomon's gods are also further confirmed as being malignant and baleful, for we are told that Ashtoreth was actually vile, Chemosh also, and that Molech was once again detestable. Josiah desecrated the high places that were east of Jerusalem on the south of the hill of corruption, the one Solomon, king of Israel, had built for Ashtoreth, the vile goddess of the Sidonians, for Chemosh, the vile god of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the people of Ammon. Jeremiah 13.
So there were there were multiple of these entities who were trying to get the humans to worship them and stuff. So yeah, that begs, like I said, begs the question: are these completely separate entities, or are these just the fallen angels just doing stuff? God will guide them lovingly. Aww.
32 sees the
Still
final
guides
mention of
them.
Moloch in the entire Bible, though perhaps
Oh,
retrospectively.
that's, wrong.
By
That's
this point,
funny.
at least 2
I'm
decades
wrong,
were believed to have
Space
passed
King.
since Josiah had destroyed the ritual site for Moloch and essentially put an end to the child sacrifices that were taking place. Of course, it can be argued that these sorts of tributes to Moloch continue to happen in secret, or in other areas in and around Jerusalem, which is why God is seen to be so angry here. Chapter 32 of Jeremiah tells us that Jeremiah purchases a field in Anatoth during the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem, an event orchestrated by a vengeful God who deliberately delivered the people of Jerusalem and Judah into the hands of the invaders. We see God tell Judah his exact intentions here, that the Babylonians will set fire to the city, will burn it down along with all the houses, because the people there, his own people, had aroused his anger by burning incense on the roofs to
Bling.
Varen1 subscribed to the channel.
Thank you for subscribing.
Baal and pouring out drink offerings to other gods. Evidently, despite Josiah's efforts to destroy the altars and monuments to the pagan deities, the worship of them still continued, leading.
Yeah, and that shit is probably still going on today. Yeah. And God specifically said, "You shall not worship anyone but me." So, yeah, already fucking that up. I gotta sneeze. My nose itches. Hold on. Damn it, lost it. My nose.
us to believe that Moloch worship and the associated child sacrifices were still taking place in some capacity. The people of Israel and Judah have done nothing but evil in my sight from their youth. Indeed, the people of Israel have done nothing but arouse my anger with what their hands have made, declared the Lord. God's words to Jeremiah here are pretty scathing. He speaks in depth over a few lines about how disappointed he is with his chosen people, mentioning how they have provoked him.
Okay, so God gave people free will. So why did we choose to do the bad stuff? Why did we choose not to follow God's rule? I'm just trying to logic here for a second. Like, why? Okay, God's supposed to be perfect, right? Then why did he create such imperfect things? Like, for example, like Lucifer, the first angel. He was supposed to be the perfect one. He was supposed to be perfect, but then he got corrupted and turned evil, and sin was born, I guess? Where does sin come from? Does sin specifically come from Lucifer's rebellion, or did sin exist before that? That's more questions. And, I mean, yes, the free will and stuff, so why does evil exist in the first place? Why did Lucifer rebel in the first place? Just more thoughts, and just, I don't know, none shall understand God, I guess. So, this is the problem with creation, I have another perspective. Words I can't read. Sorry. I can be smart, but I'm also very dumb when it comes to other stuff. What if God makes perfect things? But he finds imperfect, pathetic, gross things. But he finds, and his perfect love gives his compassion. Sin was caused by Eve when she took the apple from the tree. Also, Natty, how close you are to Yellowstone. How close I am to Yellowstone. Oh no. So he cultivated it and grew it. Because ultimately, in the end, doesn't God still love all of his creations, despite if they do the complete opposite of what he wants? Also, I'm pretty sure, I guess pride would be the first sin, maybe, because it was Lucifer's pride that he rebelled, right? Like I said, I'm not the most knowledgeable about Bible stuff. I get bits and pieces of a lot of things. Because, yeah, I don't know what stuff is correct, what stuff is not, all that jazz. Humans didn't have sin until they ate the fruit, so God trying to fix the problem of mankind. Okay, but what I'm okay. Problem with that is why did Eve sin? That too. Why did she disobey God? Just because she was tempted by the snake. If humans didn't have sin until they sinned, that's a problem. Because they couldn't have sinned in the first place. Yeah, there's a lot of contradictions here, huh? How did Eve sin? Exactly, they wouldn't have, she wouldn't have really known. All they were told was, hey, you shouldn't eat from this tree, and that's basically it. If humans couldn't sin until a human named Eve sinned, and then humans can sin. You see how that doesn't work. I know, right? No. I'm pushing it. But I'm pushing it back before human sin. I'm pushing this to the angel sin. Why did Lucifer rebel in the first place? I'm not talking about just the issues of the imperfections with sin and humanity, because the angel Lucifer, his very first creation, was the one that sinned first. Am I not right? Because he's the one who rebelled, and it was through his own pride. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. Yeah? Even better question. Yeah, and Lucifer was supposed to be made as perfect. So that's so weird. How do angels sin? Okay, we're getting into a huge tangent here. Oh my goodness.
Not just the everyday man, but the officials, the priests, even their kings. Looking at you, Solomon,
only be one
they
possible
turned their
answer.
backs to...
Ooh, what is it? Everyone can sin. Is sin part of free will? Did sin just always exist? And the whole point of free will is to be able to choose whether or not if you do the right thing or the wrong thing. A super tangent. So even though there's a lot of inconsistencies, I think ultimately what it is sin exists because it's part of free will, and humans have the choice to either do bad or do good. Maybe. Including God. Yeah. But if God's supposed to be perfect, does God have free will? Can God sin? Or, that's another interesting question.
me, God laments, showing us just how hurt and scorned he was by the very people he had delivered unto the promised land. What's worse is he then proceeds to tell Jeremiah that it's bad enough they rejected him, but they went ahead and worshipped other deities. They set up their vile images in the house.
Do you know the difference between sin and transgression? Probably not. Like, what is a transgression? I mean, when I think of sin, I just think of, like, the 7 deadly ones. That's where my mind goes whenever I picture sin. So, I use anime logic there. Get some Full Metal Alchemist on ya. I'm not sure what a transgression would be.
That bears my name and defiled it. They built high places for Baal in the valley of Ben Hinnom to sacrifice their sons and daughters to Moloch, though I never commanded, nor did it enter my mind, that they should do.
You sin if you violate the law. You transgress if you disobey God. But, wouldn't a transgression then be a sin, though? My head hurts. You're making me think too much.
Such a detestable thing. It is possible that God was still reeling from the depravity during Josiah's time, and that this is what he is referring to. Notice that God speaks of these events in the past tense, giving us the idea that whilst these things had stopped happening thanks to Josiah, they were still nonetheless living rent-free in God's head.
Sheesh. So apparently it seems like God really worries about a bunch of stuff. I mean, I don't know, like I feel like God has kept his hands completely out of society nowadays, and back then he was more on board, and he's like, nope, I'm sick of this, just bleh. And now he's just waiting until the final straw snaps, and he's like, okay, time for Armageddon. Just let it all just go. Just have at it. When I bring up the law, I mean a law, not law. Men can make laws. Those don't really matter. Oh, okay. Like a law of nature kind of thing, like obviously when I think of law I think of laws of man, but law, does law mean a different word and I'm stupid? But there are real ones, God's laws, the ones that gods obey. The ones that gods obey. Brain stuff that humans can't understand. I'm going to go with, here's a thought. Why does everything obey the law of gravity? Speaking of gravity, that's supposed to disappear for 7 seconds sometime in, I think it was April. I can't remember that little theory, but yeah. Why do things obey the law of gravity? Good question. Why don't we just fly away? Why does Jupiter know to obey it? Why don't the stars make mistakes? There are laws that exist that nobody gets to disobey. Right. I would not blame God if he became an alcoholic. Not even God. For example, if God can do anything, why doesn't he just save all the sinners? Right, you could, This is so fascinating. Why doesn't he just make murder not kill people? Why didn't he make people immortal in the first place, too? Why is death a thing? That's another one. Weren't we supposed to be immortal? I wonder. And then it got fucked up. Why doesn't he just make evil only 'cause good things? I have a theory on why God has less input on this world now. It involves the devil/government using radio towers to block heaven's frequency and energy. That's an interesting one. Frequencies and energy stuff. Yeah. Yeah, because ultimately, everywhere you go, everything's kind of devil worship in its own right, huh? I wonder if it was kind of like that back then, but there weren't the towers and stuff. Where's the fun of it if God can fix everything? I mean, yeah, that's another thing. Maybe evil exists because it's a balance to give something. Like maybe everything was happy and pure at one point. I don't know. There's so much stuff. Well, he did make people immortal in the beginning, and then it got fucked up, which is interesting in impliance. Remember, God exists in a place beyond our time and space. Of course, Adam and Eve would not have died until they ate the fruit. So, was eating the fruit not only giving Adam and Eve knowledge, but it also was like, hey, you get to die now. Congratulations. Let's get back to this video.
And still a relatively recent sore spot for him. Remember, only around 20 years had passed between the time of Josiah and Jeremiah, which if you think about in terms of one who created the universe, 20 years is probably nothing. Lastly, the shock we can infer from God's tone when he mentioned Moloch and the child sacrifices speaks volumes, though I never commanded, nor did it enter my mind, that they should do such a detestable thing. Indeed, even God, the creator, cannot believe the wickedness of Moloch, and can't quite seem to digest how his chosen people had even been roped into it.
That's a good question, actually. Yeah. Like I was saying, common sense seems to be a very, very rare gem in the world. I feel like these people would have been like, probably not a good idea to kill a newborn baby, even if I did have it because I'm a piece of shit. Also, these dumbasses should know that just because they killed the baby doesn't mean God's not gonna fucking see them. I feel like these people should know God's always watching. I feel like he probably told him that at some point, and then knowledge would be like, yeah, no, if I do this thing, God's gonna... They're scared. They're scared and stupid. It's like, oh, why did I do this? But the lust came in, and I couldn't help myself. Now they're trying to make it, the quote-unquote, try to make it right by erasing the consequences of the union. Exactly, as do other worlds and timelines, hence the Mandela effect. Yay! Oh, so much stuff.
So evil was such a practice. It didn't even enter his mind. He who knew everything and was aware of all things did not have the capacity to conceive something as vile as ritualistic child sacrifice, which once more has the effect of demonstrating the extreme contrast between a deity like Moloch and a deity like the biblical God. In a way, it's almost as if God is drawing a line between himself and such a deity. Indeed, he might vaporize a couple of cities, send an angel of death to spread disease, and plague a land with famine. But child sacrifice, that was a step too far. Whilst the Bible is uncharacteristically detailed about who Moloch was,
no, it's not a lack of capacity. Even with today's common sense, we have Paul. We have Paul. Why Paul? Why did he do what he did to that kid? Wait, who's Paul? Do I want to know? I don't want to know who Paul is. What did he do to kids? Who's Paul? I don't want to know who Paul is. But I also was like, who Paul? We have Paul. Who is he? That was not a lack of capacity.
And how one might have worshipped him, we can't help but wonder about some of the glaring admissions about such a dark and gruesome character. One of the most chilling factors stems from what the Bible doesn't tell us about Moloch, what he looks like. Indeed, many will be familiar with the image of Moloch that I've used throughout this episode.
It's cow.
A bull-headed humanoid figure whose arms are outstretched. Yet it should be noted that the Bible never describes him in this way,
Like this.
or in any other way. In fact, actual images of Moloch didn't seem to enter the limelight until around the 18th and 19th century, when demonology and the
Did you know the Bible does not include creation ex nihilo? I could probably believe that because I don't even know what that is. So yes, I will believe you on that.
fascination with the occult
Can't
began to
demand
see a
from
resurgence.
yesterday's stream.
The imagery of
Yes!
Moloch is usually
Exactly.
depicted with an elaborate statue, with several open compartments embedded on its torso and filled with flames, representing individual furnaces or offering platforms where infants were possibly placed. Now this might sound like an artistic portrayal that takes a lot of liberties, if based off of the biblical account, but if we looked at actual historical accounts, such an elaborate and eerie construction as this might not have been out of the realm of possibility. One idea goes hand in hand with our earlier discussed point, that whilst Josiah dealt a significant blow to the worshipping of Moloch, he failed to eradicate Moloch in the long term, which saw the deity eventually return, leading to Israel and Judah.
Creation on us, I can't even say it, means creation from nothing. Oh, as in God said, let there be light, and suddenly light was made? Like the Big Bang Theory kind of stuff, I'm guessing. Also, give to me your kids. I will not sacrifice them. They will be fed from boobies. Instead of God said, "Let there be light," and then He went forward and organized the stars from the dust in space. Ooh. Okay, that's kind of cool. So that means there was stuff already in existence then, if the dust in space and stuff. Interesting. Did he create the dust? Now I'm just thinking of God sitting at a desk and just playing with lights and resin and just making resin stars that light up.
Being conquered by Babylon. Yet it is also believed that Moloch survived even this, making his way into Carthage, where he was rebranded as Cronus, the same Cronus who devoured his own children in Greek mythology. The belief is that Moloch, now Cronus, became something of a popular deity for the Carthaginians, and that giant statues made of bronze were erected of him, and then heated up so as to scorch children to death. But don't take my word for it. In a commentary of Plato's Republic.
So that kind of sounds like also the fact that it's cow looking. It's a bronze bull for babies. Ooh. Where does sin come from? It was out there, and when God organized something, things don't agree, and so they are thrown out of God. Thrown out by God. So you think sin was like a parasite then? I highly recommend watching the anime freaking Platinum End. Its ending is crazy and is pretty biblically just scientific and just, I don't know, it has its own like ideals of stuff and how things work. But definitely I highly recommend checking out the anime Platinum End.
By 4th century historian Cleitarchus, we are told that there was a large bronze statue of this Cronus in Carthage that stood with his hands extended over a bronze brazier, the flames of which engulfed.
And they are not even defined by God. It's more like a state of being. Huh. Interesting. What if good is good because it lasts forever, and evil is evil because it eventually ends? Huh. That's an interesting ideas there. Yo.
Engulf the child. When the flames fall upon the body, the limbs contract, and the open mouth seems almost to be laughing, until the contracted body slips quietly into the brazier. Thus it is that the grin is known as sardonic laughter, since they die laughing. Ancient Greek historian Diodorus Siculus adds to this in his Library of History, telling us there was in their city a bronze image of Cronus extending its hands, palms up and sloping towards the ground, so that each of the children, when placed thereon, rolled down and fell into a sort of gaping pit filled with fire. Yet another account from Plutarch.
This is actually starting to make me I got these hands put in to be like a hi kind of thing. I never thought about this. This is supposed to be my hi hands. So I say hi. I can't really wave them except for doing like move, wiggle, 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 wiggle. But now I am Moloch. Oh no. Those can't last forever. Okay. No. Cinema hands, yeah. Oh yeah, the theater hands, right, jazz hands. But now you're matching Moloch suspicious. Oh no. Feed me your babies. Yeah. Give me your babies. I will feed them mook from my tetes. I will breastfeed your babies.
In his work on superstition, we are told that those who sacrificed their children to this deity did so willingly and with the full awareness of the horror of what they were doing. But with full knowledge and understanding, they themselves offered up their own children, and those who had no children would buy little ones from poor people and cut their throats as if they were so many lambs or young birds.
The fuck, man? Okay, who's to blame here? Well, the person who sold their... Well, to be fair, unless the poor person didn't know that they were going to do this to their kids... Oh, they're probably just hoping that their child would have a better life. And also needed the money, and they couldn't take care of the child. Oh, that's horrible. To think, you're letting your child, I guess, be sold because you're hoping they'll have a better existence with this nice rich person. You need the money to survive too, and you can't take care of yourself. And they're just doing that. They're killing your baby. All of them. History is full of scary things. Yeah, humans are horrible. We're definitely capable of the most fucked up shit. I wonder why. I feel like now I'm starting to think. Now you're making me wonder. Is sin just ultimately like a mental disease at this point? Historical is fully all same, you know.
Meanwhile, the mother stood by without tear or moan. But should she utter a single moan or let fall a single tear, she had to forfeit the money, and her child was sacrificed nevertheless, and the whole area before the statue was filled with a loud noise of flutes and drums, that the cries of wailing should not reach the ears of the people.
Okay, never mind. She did the fucking poor person got to see oh no, they were forced into it. Shit. I was like, here, you will give you money for it, but and they knew, and it's like, nope, you're not allowed to cry for it. You can't say anything, or you're gonna lose your money. Oh, that is disgusting.
As always, guys, if you've enjoyed today's episode, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Well, that was certainly interesting. Very interesting. Just, this is disgusting. I wish I had this face on yesterday's stream for the fucking pedophile karate teacher, as well as the poison candy asshole. But yeah, this is how I feel about you jackasses who murder your children. Wow, that is evil. Yeah. So it sounded like they're fucking, they forced the poor person to watch their child being sacrificed too. Sheesh. Well, thank you so much for joining me for that video. Bye. And that's why there's a hell. Yep. Okay, what's next?
Thank you all for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It would make me very happy. Kiss, kiss, hug, hug.